Hey everyone, so the Pavlov Shack Beta, the tutorial on this just, it sucks garbage. It's like it's a really bad tutorial or training or whatever you want to call it. Now I can't say for sure if the PC version is exactly the same since I only have access to Shack Beta, which is the Quest 2 version, but the tutorial just isn't that great there. I first noticed this a long time ago, 2 or 3 years ago when I first played the game. And then I kind of forgot about it because I kind of got the hang of it pretty easily. I knew how some of these guns reloaded anyway because I've seen some animations of how these guns were reloaded because, you know, I've played Call of Duty before in the past, so I know how some weapons are reloaded and stuff. But then I noticed this again a few months ago when someone else was trying to play this game. They didn't know hardly anything about guns. They just really wanted to get into Pavlov because I'm into Pavlov and they wanted to play with me. And so they tried the tutorial, the training, and stuff like that so they can get kind of an idea of how everything works. And they also agreed that the tutorial is garbage. Like, they literally couldn't get past certain points in the tutorial and had me come up to them and tell them what to do and stuff. So I just want to take this video and kind of critique this training mode, this tutorial or whatever like that, and kind of give some notes on why it's such a bad tutorial and how it can be improved. So starting off, the voice that talks to you is a little bit quiet and very unenthused, very unenthusiastic. Like, they have like no personality. It's super monotone. Now, the quiet side of it could have just been my settings, and maybe I forgot that my settings weren't at default, or maybe I messed something up in my settings or something. I don't know, but it did seem a little bit quiet. So that shouldn't really be an issue because there's text prompts. However, the text prompts are kind of stuck to your hands a little bit. They don't really, they're like not exactly on your hands, but the way you move your hands moves the tutorial's text prompts. So something like, oh, grab the weapon from your side. That's attached to your hand. So whenever you look to your right or something like that, you're not going to see the text prompt. You're not going to see it above you. You're not going to see it in front of you. It's going to be kind of down below. You have to kind of look down for it, and that's what you have to do for a lot of these text prompts. And then sometimes it'll kind of like, I don't know, it floats and it does weird. It just doesn't stay in place, and I think that's something it should definitely work on. I think, maybe it doesn't need to cover up the very center of your screen, but maybe move it to the top left and just have it there permanently. As soon as he gives you the prompt on what to do, the tutorial, the little text prompt should just show up in the top left, and it should be snapped to your head so that no matter where you look, that is there. Maybe it could fade out like every 3 seconds or maybe every 10 seconds or something like that. Maybe it could go away for like 1 or 2 seconds and then come back. But or you could even change the opacity of it or something, but it definitely needs to be changed because it's kind of hard to see these text prompts. Now, another thing too is that the text prompts tells you about select fire. Once you're going and you're loading up the pistol for the first time, the text prompt for select fire actually shows up as soon as you load the weapon. But then, of course, it's attached to your hand, so you might miss it, especially since the voice itself doesn't tell you that there's a select fire mode for certain guns. I actually missed this. I was playing through the tutorial again, for this video, and I actually missed the text prompt until a little bit later. And then I was like, did it tell me about the text prompt because I chose to do select fire, or did it do it when I reloaded my gun? And then I ended up seeing it again. It turns out that it does show up. The game just doesn't tell you about it. It just has you read about it, basically. And I think that's a little bit of a missed opportunity. I think definitely the voice should be like, some weapons have select fire. Press this button to enable select fire so you can do the other thing. So that's definitely another issue with it. Another thing too is that they don't tell you what to do with the grenade. And the blast itself seems a little bit weaker because my targets didn't explode even though the explosion was like right on top of them or like right next to them or something, right? It's super weird. I don't know if the hitboxes are weird and it won't trigger if it's on the side of them or behind them, but in a real scenario, obviously it would. Like if this was a real person or another player, I mean, it would definitely affect them. So I don't know why that doesn't happen. But also the game doesn't tell you to throw the grenade at the targets. It literally just says, press this button to release it while also throwing it, and then there you go. You do that, and like, what am I supposed to do with it? This was the thing that this person that I'm talking about earlier was stuck on, and actually had me to come over to help them. At least I think that's what it was. It was something with the grenade, but they had a little bit of trouble with that, and then obviously Why don't they just tell you? Why don't they just tell you to throw the grenades at the targets? Maybe you don't even see it. Maybe you go in there and you're looking, and then this guy starts talking, and the targets come up, and you don't realize that the targets are there or something, and then I don't know. I feel like it should be just a tiny bit more clear. So number 4, it doesn't mention the C4. That's kind of funny because it's number 4. It just mentions the bomb that you're going to be using in like search and destroy and stuff like that. But it doesn't mention the C4, which you can have in TTT. And sure, that maybe TTT they don't think TTT is popular enough that they should give a tutorial for, or maybe TTT should have its own tutorial, which honestly I think it probably should, or at least a little bit more information attached to it. But it doesn't talk about the C4, and I think that's a little bit of a missed opportunity. It only talks about the bomb. It doesn't talk about anything else. And then you go straight into the armory where you can play around with some of the weapons, where I have more critiques and stuff. So number 5 here, it doesn't mention complex reloads. It doesn't mention reloads with stuff like the LMG. You have the LMG, you have to flip this thing up and then put the ammo in there and then flip this thing back down and then cock it. It doesn't talk about a reload like that. It doesn't show you this gun. It's not like, hey, some guns reload a little bit differently. Some of them you're not just going to be sticking a mag in and then cocking the thing back. Some of them are you're going to have to do a little bit more complicated things. The double barrel shotgun, another one, or the sawed-off shotgun, whatever you want to call it. You have to press B to flick this thing up, then turn the thing upside down to drop the little shells out, and then put 2 new ones in, and then flick your wrist to reload it. Like there's other complicated reloads in this game that it just doesn't teach you, that you have to kind of figure out on your own. And this is something that I remember seeing with this person. They had trouble reloading that sawed-off shotgun, and I think they also had problems with like the revolver and some of the pistols, because the game doesn't also, that's another thing too, is that the game doesn't mention that some guns you have to press the B button to release the mag, to drop the mag out of the gun so you can refill it. Some of this, it doesn't mention that at all. It mentions in the tutorial, to its credit, it does mention that you can press B to release the mag, but it doesn't tell you that some weapons have to have that. So, for the most part, you're going to be thinking, oh, I can just grab the mag like I did in the tutorial for all these things. But then you're like, oh wait, I have this pistol. I can't just grab the mag. What am I supposed to do? Maybe logically you should assume that, oh, I can press the B button because that was another option to reload in the tutorial. But I think it would have been a better tutorial if they were just like, hey, this pistol, you have to press B to reload. And that's a little bit nitpicky, because I mean, that's only one of the various complicated reloads. Sometimes you can even unleash an entire mag, put the new mag in, and then just punch your gun and it reloads it for you. You don't have to cock it back or anything like that. I mean, it doesn't reload it for you, but it cocks it for you. So like a couple of things like this. It also doesn't mention, reloads for like snipers or anything like that. It also doesn't mention that you have to hold a sniper with 2 hands. Before in the tutorial, it tells you that you need to use 2 hands to stabilize the weapon, but it doesn't tell you the consequences of doing this with a sniper. If you try to one-shot with a sniper with 1 hand, it's gonna fly out of your hand, obviously, but the tutorial doesn't tell you that. So I think, again, the tutorial should explain that, hey, snipers, you have to hold them with this weapon, or at the very least, it should tell you that you need to hold this with 2 weapons to stabilize it, because sometimes it can fly out of your hand, or something like that, to at least kind of cover their grounds there. So again, it also doesn't explain what bolt actions are. It doesn't explain that some weapons, when you shoot them, you have to pull this pin back and then push it back in. It doesn't explain the bolt action snipers. It also doesn't explain shotguns, where you have to cock it each time and stuff like that. It doesn't explain some of these more kind of complex things, which aren't really that complicated. They're super simple. It's just, I guess it's too complicated for the tutorial itself. I don't know. But lastly, it doesn't mention other attachments like lasers. It mentions the sight, and it talks about where you can put that down at. But some of the other attachments, you can even find them in the armory. As soon as you're done, you're in the armory and you can play with the attachments and stuff like that. It doesn't explain that for the laser sight, you don't put it at the top of the gun or on anything like that. You have to put it on the side of the gun, and it doesn't tell you that that's where it goes or anything like that. Sure, this is something that you can figure out pretty easily on your own, but again, they're already teaching you about attachments. Why not explain that, hey, this attachment goes here, or some attachments do other stuff or something like that? Like, I don't understand why the tutorial is the way it is, but hopefully when the full release for the quest version or whatever like that, it gets released, hopefully the tutorial will be revamped again or something, and we can have like a better tutorial that kind of covers these things. But these are, 8 or 9 things here that the tutorial just doesn't talk about, or the tutorial has issues with. And so, yeah, I guess that's really going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments below if you've played Pavlov and you've also had issues with the training mode, the tutorial, whatever you want to call it. And also if there's any of these things in the tutorial that I missed that, is even worse than I thought, like anything that you have troubled with in the tutorial that I just didn't explain in this video. So yeah, let me know all those things, and I hope you guys enjoyed. I would definitely very much appreciate it if you liked, subscribed, maybe even shared this video around or something like that, because it really, really, really helps me out a lot. Yeah, that's all I have to say. I hope you guys have a wonderful night, evening, day, whatever, and remember to stay asleep.
That man's a furry. Look at that. I think I want a gun. No, don't kick Danny boy. No, don't kick Danny boy. No. Say no. Say no. Say no. Say no. Y'all better say no. Better say no. He's a Danny boy.